conception of a kind of architecture of control that involves a high degree of personalization by which each of us can filter in and filter out what we particularly seek. What I want to suggest with this is two ideas about what self-government.com requires, very sharply opposed to what Google is signaling on Google News. And those two things are very straightforward. The first involves the importance of unchosen, serendipitous, unanticipated, sometimes disliked encounters with diverse ideas and topics. And the second is the importance in a diverse society in particular of shared communications experiences that unify people across differences. Every tyrant knows in a society that has a bad constitution or one that doesn't function, that the power to censor really isn't enough. It's too unwieldy. What you need to do as well is fence off places or forums in which diverse people might congregate and make a stink. So in tyrannies everywhere, in Cuba, in China, in Iran, it's just not the case that there are easily accessible fora where lots of people can come and make a protest against the status quo. If you look at the public forum doctrine and its concrete social functions, there are three things that happen. First, if there's an organization that you are unhappy with, private or public, you can get at it so long as the streets and parks have a kind of centrality to social life. If a company is engaging in practices that bother or harm people, it can't self-insulate. It can't create an echo chamber. People can get at it. The second point is that there's a chance on the part of each of us, and people maybe to whom we don't feel terrifically friendly, also, to get at a diverse public. So long as the streets and parks have this kind of centrality, it's possible for the diverse public to be reached. My guess is that everyone in this room has had that happen at least once, that you've encountered a story or a person or an activity or an event that you would never have put in your daily me, but that had an impact on you. It's not just about topics, it's also about points of view. The kind of self-sorting that are making easy makes it very simple just to jump from people who think like you to other people who think like you. What we're seeing both on the internet and on television actually is an increased degree of self-segregation along explicitly political lines. If you look at the blogosphere, much discussed as a kind of great triumph of the system of free expression made possible in the internet era, we can acknowledge that the blogosphere allows a range of information and material to get out that never would have been covered by the general interest intermediaries. But there's a downside. Those who read self-consciously liberal bloggers are reading mostly self-consciously liberal bloggers, jumping from one to the other. And those who read the conservative ones are doing the same. Guess what percentage of Daily Kos readers are self-identified Republicans? Under 2%. Really, really small. The Daily Kos isn't being read by a lot by people who don't agree with it. To a very dramatic degree, readers of conservative blogs stick there, create their own echo chamber of the Colorado sort, and the same happens in liberal communities who are doing what the bolder people were artificially asked to do by our experiment. Most Americans won't agree with the following statement, very few. Free speech being a privilege and not a right, it's legitimate for the government to censor it where the national security requires it. Very small percentage of Americans agree with that statement. If people are in a group in which everyone agrees with that statement, about half of Americans agree with it also.